Hey guys, it's Ashley and Davy here again from Utah Trikes, and today we're going to do this comparison between the Sun Seeker Ecotad SX
and the Catrike Villager.
Catrike Villager. So these are two of our most popular trikes. They could not be more different, but you know what? Let's just get riding and everything will unfold.
Yep.
Let's go. All right, Davey, so here we are. We're riding. It's earlier in the morning today.
Thank goodness.
And we're gonna just get going on our regular loop.
Yep. And I'm on the Villager. You're on the Sunseeker first off.
Now, I can already tell you that I'm not excited about the hill.
Yes, that's gonna be a little bit more rough than those racing trikes we rode last week.
You know, let's just start off here with kind of the basics. There's a reason why both of these trikes are our two most popular trikes and have been for a long time.
Yeah.
That number one reason is price. The Ecotad here, it starts out at less than $1,500. And I'm just gonna put this out there that you can buy two of these for one Villager.
For one Villager,
For one Villager. A lot of people will buy the Sunseeker and they'll put upgrades and money into it. They'll price it quite a bit higher than what the Villager costs. The low price of entry allows them to get into all of those upgrades.
Yeah.
And for other people, the fact that they can get two of these trikes, you know, is really appealing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So let's talk first about some of the similarities that these trikes have.
Yeah.
Both trikes are tadpole trikes. So if you're not familiar with trikes in general, for most people, they're gonna look the same kind of, you know?
Yeah.
The handlebars, even though they're both different, are both what we call direct steering.
Yeah.
Where the handlebars are directly tied to our front wheels. They both are currently equipped here with derailleur gearing, which is standard on most bicycles, where that means that you need to be pedaling to shift. They both have adjustable seats.
I think there's one more similarity that is really important with these trikes and why people buy them so much, right? And I think that's because they aren't as reclined. They're much higher seated, right? When I was helping people find trikes, the most common one that people were looking for was one that was comfortable and easy to get in. And the Ecotad and the Villager are both the most popular in that high-seated, comfortable route of trike.
That's actually a really good point, Davey, and I'm glad that you brought that up. That higher seat is really a big deal.
Yeah, it's very unique to these like, kinds of trikes as well. But then, yeah, that's where most of the similarities end.
So let's start by talking about the seat here. They both have a mesh seat. The Villager has a nice thick pad on it.
Yeah, on the back too.
Yeah, where the Ecotad here does have a pad, but it's in between the two bottoms of the seat mesh. Mm-hmm. They're both adjustable seats, but they're quite different in the way that they adjust.
Yeah.
Catrike is famous for their space frame technology, where the seat is actually integrated into the frame. On the Villager, that bottom seat base is integrated into the frame. It is part of the frame.
Yeah.
It cannot move. Where this seat here can move along the whole frame, front and back.
Which makes it so much easier to adjust if you have more than one rider or are really just trying to figure out pedaling style and X-seam without having to adjust the chain, which is really nice.
Yeah, which kind of goes back to that, like I could buy two of these for the price of that, and then I can share this. Like I could have one to share, and then whoever wants to come ride with me, it's literally a quick release lever on the bottom, and I can slide that seat forward and backwards.
Yeah.
And then the angle is also adjustable as well. Now the angle on the Villager is also adjustable.
Yeah, and we have those seat extensions to make it so we can adjust it even farther forward. Right. Which something like the Ecotad doesn't have, because it's all just built into the tubing.
Right, yeah, there's kind of a set recline.
Yeah.
with the different tubes there.
And the adjustment here is just a separate part, so it's really easy to customize.
I mentioned that these both have direct steering. One thing that we noted when we were riding the Ecotad and the Eco Delta is that this has this horizontal, almost bicycle style steering here. Whereas the Villager there, you've got
these vertical handlebars.
So your handlebars kind of sit more on your side.
Yeah, they're a lot more tucked in, and personally, I like them more. Feels more like an airplane a little bit with those vertical controls, you know?
That's what I've always felt like the Catrike handlebars. They're part of the cockpit. I don't quite have that same feeling with this. This really does feel a lot more bicycle-like. Both handlebar setups are adjustable.
Catrike's is really unique with how you can adjust it because we have a 2-bar system for the handlebar setup. So you can adjust them like in and out, as well as up and down, like farther and closer to you. Like there's so many different ways to adjust these handlebars. You just have a lot of customization on that front compared to the Sunseeker, which isn't as in-depth.
Because they're a one piece and that horizontal handlebar part is already bent into it. My only adjustment is kind of in or out and adjust that angle.
Yeah.
Now I should say there is one other little tweak that some people will do. There are spacers that go on the headset underneath these handlebars, so you can move them up and down a little bit.
Nice.
I don't know how much difference that makes for most people though.
Yeah.
But sometimes for like kids or smaller riders, when we really want to get everything as small as possible on the Ecotad, you know, we'll remove the spacers and just tuck everything in as much as possible.
Nice.
I'm glad that there is a train in front of us, so we've been pedaling kind of slow, anticipating this train here. And I should note here that the entire time that we've been riding, I've been on my top gear, which is 7.
Yeah, same. I'm on my top gear in 2nd gear up front. Which you don't have on the Ecotad. The Ecotad only has 1 gear up front, and is it 7 gears in the back?
And 7 gears in the back. You know, I've got a much more limited gear range than what you do. So my front chain ring here is a 38 tooth.
Yeah.
Which is, I believe, the same as what your middle gear is. All right, so now we are going to put these gears to the test,
The
guys.
hill is right up, maybe the train's coming back.
Let's go, let's go.
Okay, perfect.
All right, guys, so.
The train has passed, and now it's time to really put these pedals to the test.
The train guys let us go because they knew how excited I was about climbing the hill.
Now it's time to put your limited gearing and my extended gearing to the test to really see how big of a difference it makes on some hills.
Right now I'm in my 4th gear. I think it's important to realize like this 100% is not a racing trike.
Yeah.
You know, neither of these trikes really are.
They're for leisure, they're for comfort, they're just cruising around town.
Yeah, like I'm in my lowest gear right now. So I don't have any room to go. And you know, I mean, I feel like I'm breathing a little heavier. I'm sucking in a little bit more O2. And I see that you've got a little bit lower gear.
Yeah, I think I can even go farther. Let me see if I can go farther. One more. There we go.
There you go. This 7-speed here, this is absolutely as much of a hill as I would want to take. Let me, you want to go in front?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I'm not really that winded by that. How do you feel?
You know, I could have went slower.
Yeah.
The gearing was enough to get up that hill without any problems. If I would have went a little bit slower, you know, I wouldn't even be kind of out of breath.
Yeah.
But trying to keep up with you, who's on a trike that weighs less and has those additional gearing.
Yeah. I got that way lower granny gear.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Like, it made getting up that hill quick pretty easy, which is really nice. I think the extra low gear is something that I really appreciate a lot on a trike like this. You know, you want to have a good variety to kind of tackle any terrain that you're going to be on. And look, the padding on this seat is consistently called the most comfortable padding out of any trike that we have. It's simple, it's comfortable, and people love it, right? Like that's one of the big things of Catrike. Okay, now we gotta put it to the ultimate fun test see how it does going downhill. All right, let's go. I can let go. It's feeling great. Woo. The steering's solid. I can just let go going down that fast and there's no problem. Woo.
So now, I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
As we're pedaling up, even just getting the crest of the hill, I was about in my middle gear.
Yeah.
And then pretty much as soon as we hit the crest of that hill, I'm all the way in 7. And even just coming down State Street there,
Yeah.
which is, barely a hill,
It's kind of topping
Like-
out already?
I was already topped out.
Dang.
And so once we hit our little S curve there, I couldn't go faster if I wanted to. It's kind of an interesting thing where you're like, hey, I want to go fast, but then I'm just pedaling air
Yeah.
at that point. There are no gears.
And I felt like I had the perfect amount of gears there, right? Like, I got to a point where I couldn't go much faster, like halfway down that steep hill. But at that point, you really don't need to on a trike like this. So
Sure.
that's what I'm really loving
Well, I
about
don't
this
know. I
right
think
now.
everybody has a little need for speed,
It's
though.
true. I still got going pretty fast. I think that was still like 25, 30. But I'm really loving the expanded gears here. I think that
Oh,
this
yeah.
is great. Especially for just kind of like a leisurely commuting trike. It's nice to know that you have all the gears you need to tackle any
Right.
situation.
So steering and handling wise on the Ecotad here, I really felt that higher seat height.
Yeah.
As we've been riding racing trikes lately, you're low to the ground and you can take those turns really sharp.
It's a bit top heavy on these ones.
I mean, there was a part where I was like, I would go faster if I had more gears, but then I was like, I don't think I want to go faster.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to enjoy gravity and go.
Yeah. When you're sitting this high, you do have to keep in mind,
Gravity.
if a higher center of gravity, you aren't as grounded, right? So taking those sharp turns going really fast isn't as easy as it would be on something like the carbon trike. It is important to kind of keep in mind of, what kind of trike is this? What kind of riding is this for?
Yeah, and this is a leisure, go around the neighborhood, ride on some bike trails. So we did our first loop here, and I was on the Sunseeker Ecotad.
And I was on the Catrike Villager.
There's definitely some differences. So what's going to be really exciting here now is we're going to swap and we're going to immediately feel what those differences are.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Yeah, this is where the real comparison
All
comes
right,
in.
let's do it.
Oh, yeah. You feel that immediately. Big difference.
All right, let's get going.
Yeah, you really did me dirty here, leaving me in 7th gear.
Hey, man. Seventh gear on that thing's like 3rd on this.
That's true. It's a lot easier to get going than in my 7th gear.
I already feel a lot different on this.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean,
Dang it, this freaking hill.
yeah, so one thing that I definitely like about the Villager here is that I do have a higher bottom bracket height.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'm noticing that immediately.
And I know it's interesting because a lot of new riders, especially, older riders that come into the shop, they really have no experience at all. They get on something like the Ecotad and they really like that lower bottom bracket.
Yeah.
Because it feels a little more bicycle-like, where I'm definitely feeling here this higher bottom bracket. It makes it easier to push.
Yeah, like you're really pushing down
Yeah.
on this trike compared to this one, right?
Where I'm
'Cause,
pushing
like,
out.
Because because this is just such a straight frame and the seat is sat completely flat too.
Right.
As on the Villager, you're a little bit leaning back.
Yeah, that's one thing on the Villager here. I can push a lot harder.
You're much more able to push out, whereas this one, it's a little harder for me to get that torque because I'm pushing down.
Right.
I don't really have as much of that kind of tilted angle.
Yeah.
All the power into my back. It's a lot less efficient power-wise. But yeah, after tackling that hill, I'm a lot more pooped than I was on that one.
Yeah, this feels like I feel great.
And you didn't even go into your first,
I didn't.
your lowest gear. You were in the second one the whole time.
Yeah, I only shifted 3 gears. Like,
It's crazy.
that pedaling position really lets you put a lot more power
Yeah.
into the pedals.
It's very noticeable, especially when you immediately get thrown into a hill.
Right.
Howdy, everybody. Big differences here already. The seat padding is one that I'm noticing the most here. Way different, right? There's no padding on your back, it's just mesh. And on the bottom, there's a foam pad underneath the mesh. It's not uncomfortable, but compared to Catrikes is one of the most comfortable seats that you can find on a trike. So there is a bit of a difference there. The seat angle, knee angle of everything is the biggest thing that I'm noticing, right? On the Catrike, you can see that the boom goes up, that it's at a different angle. The Ecotad, it's all flat, it's all straight. The seat sits flat. It's just like I'm sitting on a normal just chair. It's a padded chair, but like there's a little bit of recline on the back, but nothing in the actual seat where my butt is, you know? I'll also say, with every pedal of my foot, I'm like wiggling around. The steering is a lot touchier. With these horizontal handlebars, I'm putting a lot more accidental pressure with every push of my feet, right? So it gives you a lot more leverage, but that's also making it so I'm putting a lot more accidental wiggle into it than I would rather be put. Okay, we're gonna hit the hill now. I'm gonna put this thing to the test.
All right, Davey, it's hill time.
I'm already topped out. I can't go faster.
Okay, so here's the thing. I know that I could go a lot faster, but I'm gonna hang back here a little bit. So I'm in my highest gear right now.
So it's not like unstable. It is not unstable steering, right? I can sit here like this and there's no problem. But it's just you put a lot more torque into the steering than you do on vertical handlebars. This is what I'm noticing the most here.
All right, guys.
I got
We're gonna
left
wait for
behind.
Davey here.
Woof. Howdy.
Hey, hey, hey.
Biggest thing that I'm noticing with these handlebars, right?
Yeah.
You can put a lot more leverage and torque into these handlebars than on the vertical ones. But what I'm noticing is as I'm pedaling, especially when I'm like pedaling fast, I'm putting a lot more accidental power into my arms the way that my body moves. So I feel the tires kind of wiggle a little bit.
Right.
And it's not anything to do with unstable like steering. I let go of the handlebars while I was going downhill, going the top speed this thing would let me go. And I was going straight forward. I was totally fine.
Sure.
It's just,
Well, you have more leverage.
yeah, there's a lot more leverage. So the power output into the handlebars is a lot more than what's going to be happening on the Catrike, which can give it a little bit of an unstable feel when it's not really that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like if you were going too fast on the Ecotad, you could biff it.
Yeah.
The Catrike, the Villager here, has the same steering components and basically the same steering geometry as the Catrike 700 that we've been riding.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it has that same tendency, like it wants to go straight.
Yeah.
And you can definitely feel that. The faster you go, the more it wants to go straight. It just handles great. For what it is and for the price, the Ecotad, I'm very impressed with how well it did go out down that hill at its top speed.
Yeah.
Throw that in at its top speed because it can't go that fast because it's limited by the gearing, you know?
Yeah.
So on the Catrike Villager, I was in my highest gear. I was pedaling at very leisurely pace there as we were coming down the hill. And I wasn't putting everything I had because I didn't want to get too far ahead of you, of course.
Yeah.
But I really, really was feeling that difference of having a bigger back wheel, you know, like on some of these other trikes we've been riding lately.
Yeah.
Where that bigger back wheel gives you higher gearing, allows you to go faster. Not to the extent that I was there on the Ecotad.
Yeah.
But I definitely was feeling like I was at the limit of my gearing.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a little bit of time here.
Yeah.
While we wait for our favorite train. I noticed that they have some new graffiti on there.
Yeah, no. I think they're getting just different cars every time, but they're back every single day, which is kind of a lot.
Well, it's kind of nice though. It's like every time the train goes by, it's our own little
new art gallery.
Yeah,
every
art
time.
Gallery. Who needs a museum?
Yeah, it's got the train.
Yeah. So let's talk about these trikes a little bit. The gearing difference on these is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably one of the most apparent things.
Oh, definitely.
You know, now climbing up the hill, like I commented, I really didn't feel like I needed more gearing because that seat position and that higher bottom bracket really kind of made it up. You know, on a small hill like this, you know, I could go at a casual pace with this all day long without really needing more gears.
Because it just maximizes power output compared to the Ecotad, which is a lot less efficient in the way that you transfer the power from your feet to the wheels.
Yeah, it's more comfort. You know, as we've been riding the Ecotad the past couple of days, like I really have an appreciation for it as a comfort trike.
Yeah.
Like I'm tooling around the neighborhood. It's, you know, I'm sitting more upright. It's nice. And I never really felt like I needed more gears. I definitely felt like I could have used an extra gear or two climbing with the Ecotad.
Yeah.
But going down the hill is where I really felt like I was lacking gears. Like, you know, it was barely even getting over that crest on the Ecotad. I'm in 7th gear and I couldn't go faster if I wanted to.
And I'll say though, I think that is a unintentional positive where it's like, I don't think this trike could really handle going that much faster that the Villager can take you with those higher gears, right? I think the top out on the gearing speed is just good to make sure that you aren't going too fast, like to overload this trike. This trike is for very simple, very leisurely rides, and if you're going too fast, I could see a lot that could go wrong being able to get that high up.
Sure.
You know?
Now, one thing that comes up and is going to keep coming up is the ability to upgrade the gearing.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is such an inexpensive trike to start with, a lot of people are going to go, well, I want this trike and then I want to upgrade the gearing. You'll notice on the Ecotad, there is no front derailleur post. Here on the Catrike, I've got this front derailleur post, which allows me to have this triple crank up here where you don't have that luxury.
Yeah, it's kind of stuck to one gear with how it is.
So any kind of options to add gearing to the Ecotad are going to be a little more exotic.
Yeah.
You've got to either do things where you're modifying that front boom there. And by modifying, I mean like you're cutting and you're welding stuff on there, or you're adding a significantly more expensive internally geared hub to the back. So something like the Inviolo or the roll-off, and people do that.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a bad combination for people that go, I really like the Ecotad, but all I want is a little bit wider gears. You know, they want some lower gears, they want some higher gears. So adding a hub on the back that has the gearing built into it, like the roll-off, for example, will give you all of that and the ability to shift when you're stopped, when you're coasting, when you're pedaling. That comes at a cost.
Yeah, definitely.
So the roll-off itself costs more than just the Ecotad.
Yeah.
Is putting another $2,000 into a $1,500 trike worth it?
Yeah. But
for some people, maybe.
Because some people, that is the only option they have. Like, a lot of people want the roll-off more than they want a specific trike.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So it's like, I want the comfort and like the awesome feeling of a roll-off, but I can only afford to put that on an Ecotad. So sometimes that's where people go. Like the Ecotad a lot of the times is a means to an end to get a motor up front,
Right.
or a roll off in the rear.
Yeah,
or
I'm
both.
glad you mentioned the motor. So many of the trikes that we build now have motors on them.
Yeah.
And people want to add motors, and they want to add motors to every trike.
Yeah, I hardly ever see an Ecotad go out these doors that doesn't have a motor.
Have a motor. Yeah. That's one of the nice things is you can buy this trike and you can get the motor on it. That 7-speed in the back is more than enough.
Yeah.
With a 750 watt or a 1000 watt motor, you could go 20 miles an hour on this trike and you could climb anything you want and you can still pedal.
Yeah, I do have one thing to say kind of away from that though, but about the Ecotad, where the other day we rode the Eco Delta and the Ecotad. You ride both of these things and you're like, these are both super different and they're gonna have really different riding styles. I really think that this is just the same use case as the Eco Delta. It is a simple, flat riding trike. Like, it's awesome for riding through the neighborhood, riding through the park, but it's just really not built for those steep hills or long tours like I could really see myself doing on a Villager, right?
Sure.
It's comfortable enough with enough gearing that I could do a tour on that.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. This is just for stuff around the neighborhood, not going too far. And even though it is in a tadpole form, I honestly think it's a lot more similar to something like a Delta than it is to something like an Azub, like an expensive tadpole trike.
Oh, sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they're a different class.
Uh-huh.
Well, let's keep talking as we ride.
Yeah.
Well, we are back on the road.
We're off.
Our train finally gave us access to our road again. So one thing that comes up a lot is the quality difference on these. You know, being that these trikes both attract the same buyer, essentially. Someone that's newer, they're getting into trikes, they want that higher upright seat like you mentioned. You know, one's $1,500, one's $3,000.
There's gonna be there's gonna be a little bit of a materials and quality difference to the compared to the two.
Yeah, so I'll start off, just talking about the components. Obviously, we've mentioned it several times. The Villager has about 3 times the gearing. It's got 30 speed gearing, whereas the Sunseeker has 7 speed. It's not just that gear range. The components across the board on the Catrike here are better in every way.
Yeah.
It's got the significantly better SRAM bar and shifters versus the Sunrace twist grips that are on the Ecotad.
Yeah.
It's got the SRAM derailleur, the FSA Gossamer crank.
It's got more padded grips compared to these foam grips as well.
Yeah, it's like everything is up a lot more.
Like they come with Schwalbe tires, they come with wrist rests, and also the aluminum frame.
Yeah, so this has an aluminum frame. This trike weighs less. It also is easy to adjust. So you have quick releases on the boom where you can slide the boom in and out. Obviously, there are some chain length issues that you may have to deal with if you're sharing the trike. It's got that padded seat. This even comes with a mirror and a mirror mount. For what you get, it's a lot.
Yeah, like the extra 1500 adds a lot of quality. It adds a lot of quality of life engineering that really, like, you feel that difference in the way that the parts feel, the way that they conform to your body, and the way that they adjust, and how well your trike can, like, you can adjust it, and just what it's made of.
Right.
Like, you notice.
Well, one thing I would say, so if you're gonna buy an Ecotad and you're going to put $1,500 worth of upgrades into it, buy the Villager. The Villager is that much of a better trike. But where I say forget everything I just said, though, really comes down to, like, is that a motor?
Yeah.
Because if you're like, hey, I'm gonna buy this trike and all I really want is an electric trike to help me go where I want to go, then by all means, the Ecotad with a motor system is a winner.
Because I was about to say the exact same thing, right? Like, a lot of people that I used to work with when I was doing sales that go for the Ecotad and a motor, it's just because they don't have the energy, they don't have the muscle to go on long rides without a motor. Like, a motor is a deal breaker to make sure that they can get out and ride like we want them to.
Right.
You know? Like, if you're just looking for a $1,500 trike and you don't have, and you aren't relying on a motor to be able to get the use out of the trike that you need to, then definitely spend the extra $1,500 on the Catrike, because it's just that much better.
Right.
But if you need to rely on a motor, putting a motor on an Ecotad, I think, is a great option.
Sure.
Just to get that accessibility for people who need it.
Yeah, and I would say if triking is your thing, or you foresee it being a substantial pastime for you, you know, recreation wise, or, you know, even commuting or whatever, I think that the Catrike is definitely, it's going to hold its value better. It's
100%.
going to be a more upgradable trike in some senses. It's going to last longer between tune-ups. And I want to be clear about that. Like, I think both of these trikes, you could find these trikes next to each other in a landfill in the apocalypse, and they would both be great.
Yeah, they'd both be solid.
You know, but as far as like riding every day and you're doing tune-ups and stuff, the components, the brakes, everything on the Villager is gonna last longer between tune-ups.
Yeah, one thing that I think is worth mentioning, the thing is all of these trikes can be upgraded down the line. This isn't you have to buy it with a motor when you buy it, and then you can never add anything ever. Maybe you are looking into doing this long term and you want to go far, and you only have $3,000. You're really leaning towards the Villager, but you really want a motor, right? You can get the Villager, you can ride that for a while, and then down the line, if you still feel like, I want a motor, you can order one of our motor kits, you can install it yourself, or if you live nearby, you can bring it in and we can install one for you. You don't have to be limited to the stock option that you buy when you first get it.
Yeah, and you can upgrade any of these over time. One final thing I think that I'll say about these trikes, because for a lot of people, it is going to come down to one or the other.
Yeah, definitely.
I have never encountered a customer that bought a Villager and wished that they had gotten the Ecotad instead.
Yeah.
But I have definitely had customers that have bought the Ecotad and said, I wish I would have got the Villager.
Yeah.
You know, again, it kind of comes down to, you know, how much money do you want to spend on trikes? Either way, these are both great trikes.
And we've been ragging on the Ecotad a little bit here, but it is a great beginner's trike.
Oh, yeah.
It is leisurely. It is great to get into the triking space. It's like an affordable price point for people who are curious and don't know things about tadpoles. Like, it's a great trike if you're just trying to figure it out, don't have the money to go for something like a Catrike or an Azub.
Well, I think that the Sunseeker Ecotad is a fantastic trike for what it is.
Yeah.
And what it is the lowest cost entry-level trike available.
Yeah, because we've seen trikes with the same price point that we don't carry, but we've seen them, we've tried them.
Yes.
Nothing really fits the accessibility and the quality of the Sunseeker one in this price point.
Exactly. All right, guys. We hope that you got something out of this ride and review here with the Catrike Villager and the Sunseeker Ecotad. Certainly, if you have any questions, let us know and we'll be happy to discuss them with you.
Remember, everybody, relax, spin fast, and ride trikes. We'll see you in the next one.
All right, guys. Thanks.